students will learn how to shape glass using lamp working technique, or flame working as it's referred to. Stationary bench torches produce a flame that you will rotate rods or tubes of clear colored glass inside to either create vessels or solid work. Much more accessible to beginners, creating something that is solid, then you don't have to deal with interior, exterior wall thickness. And the type of material is much more compatible. Borosilicate is a stiffer form of glass than soft glass. The traditional style of offhand glass blowing uses a different type of glass. It's a lot more fluid. This is not something that we have facilities for at the moment, but using flame working techniques gives individuals some experience with working with hot glass that you may not have in other places. So I'm going to turn on the ventilation, and we'll just stretch some glass, and then I will do a quick demonstration to show some of the chemical transformation that glass will do. This ruby red will strike in a really vivid way. It'll transition from a translucent material into a opaque material. At the moment it is sitting at that opaque state, but it is a self-striking glass. So I'll show you what that looks like. So if you want to get set up maybe just in this area, and you are welcome to gather around. Don't have to. I see everybody starting to stand back, but it's really just fine. The flame is going to be localized right in this section, so wherever you would like to hang out is fine with me.
While Dustin is setting that up, can we show this?
Certainly. It's in pieces, so don't pick it up.
Okay. This is a combination of stained glass, which Dustin also teaches, but also metalworking to get different effects. And this is a commission piece. And I have actually commissioned Dustin as well as other artists to do different pieces here because, you know, having something handmade that you can give as a gift is just amazing. That people can go out and buy anything they need, but this is something that can bring beauty into their lives. And a lot of his things are, of course, very functional as well. One thing about taking a class with Dustin, and I hope with most of us, we usually have that foundation of the science of what we're doing, and some of that for someone who's taking a class is great. You don't need a lot because you get overwhelmed. You're learning the skill. You don't need all the science. But Dustin has a really good way of talking through that in an easy to understand so that you know what is happening to the properties of what you're working with. And that makes such a difference in your outcome as well. So we all work with those kinds of things. And
what I am currently doing right now, the glass does need to be properly annealed inside of a kiln. I do not have the kiln running right now, so I'm not going to create a finished product, but a lot of preparation goes into getting the material ready. When I purchase glass stock, it comes in rods or tubes, and the tubes typically are about 5 feet long, which is very unmanageable in the small scale that we are usually working with it. So those tubes need to be broken down into smaller, usable sections. I have already broken this into about 4 sections, but that is still way more glass than I would ever need for a reasonable sized product. So I'm just going to separate some of these tubes into points, is what it's called. Gives me both the material broken down and a way to manipulate it. So this pull, sorry for the broken conversation, I like hold my breath at certain points. As the glass is moving and it is liquid, I'm always striving to keep things on center. But like I was just saying, This small section, this point that I have pulled, is a handle material to allow me to spin the glass. So I'm just going to separate these two where I have pulled this other section down. As it cools down, that will be an access point for me to manipulate the next section. So I can simply melt these apart inside of the flame. Pop a small hole into my vessel. And this would be ready for the next breakdown or further dividing. This tool to remove. Excess glass or waste material just gets deposited in this small glass of water. So I'm just going to grab a chunk off of this to discard it and then pop another hole in there. Removing any sharp areas so that once this cools down, I'll be able to blow through there and I can pull an even smaller section. Really a workable about 2 inches of this heavy wall tubing is all I would need to make a small vessel. So this will even get broken down into another section. But just an example of how the glass can get heated and stretched out. I'm going to set that aside to cool for later. Right now, I am going to pull a small segment of this red. So I'm just going to heat it up inside the flame. I need a handle, referred to as a punty, to create this pull. So just prepping this small punty, and then I will heat this chunk of red. If you can get a really close-up view, I'll be like right here when I do the stretch. What you'll want to see is the transition from translucent into opaque. So if any of you or the camera wants to get really, really close to be able to see this transition happen, it is quite
cool.
dramatic. You are totally safe where you're standing. There is no risk. I am in control of this material right now.
I'm in control. A great example of collaboration here is we were up working late one night here. Dustin was blowing glass, I was making jewelry, and I was pounding wire, and he had stopped by and said, "Oh, you're making more squiggles." I said, "Fine, making fun of me." But I said, "Have you ever tried putting any of this metal, embedding it into your glass, like your pendants?" And, well, and he starts thinking, okay, this has to be at this temperature to match this temperature. He said, we could probably try that. So I came over with my torch because I had to get my squiggles up to heat while he is melting the glass, getting the pendant ready, and I am literally right over his shoulder with my torch. He was very trusting, and getting my metal hot. And so we got it in there, and we did one in cobalt glass and one in clear glass. And while it was the cobalt that, ooh, look at that beautiful color.
Can you see the end of this is translucent? It just looks like it's clear. I know there's a lot of heat color on it, but it just looks practically clear. Sorry to interrupt your story,
No,
but
that's good. So
the glass is hot and I'm going to do it right now.
yeah, yeah.
So here comes that stretch.
Okay.
What I want you to watch for is as the glass cools down, it's going to start to opacify and turn red. You can see the end is starting to already. There it goes. And now it is bright ruby red. Is that amazing?
So much fun. What is
Science is magic.
And what is it that makes the color in the glass?
There are different metal components suspended inside of clear glass. There are a lot of complex structures. Now glass technology has advanced to creating all kinds of things. Previously, this type of red would need to be struck either in the kiln or with the flame, but now, like I said, that new technology allows it to self-strike. So there are different metal oxides, chlorides, essentially metal components that are expanding or contracting. They'll nucleate, they will move throughout the glass, some will come to the surface, some will retreat in, but new technology has allowed that the chemicals will do some of those things on their own now. Less chemistry for some of the artists, but much more advancement for the people that are batching glass.
You could go home and say, I nucleated today. That would be just so great. Not quite proper, but yeah.
Just removing that little bit of material that I don't need. Just a quick fun example of some things that happen.